All right, let's read. A little coffee, a little water. I call it my water chaser. And a little background noise for my dogs as they lap up their water. So let's read. All right, so I'm going to start with spiritual liberation, right? Okay, so I'm going to get started. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. This time I made it with a little bit of turmeric, pepper, my coffee, and my creamer. And it tastes fantastic. Hey, you're making too much noise over there. Thank you. They got a lot of vibration when they lap up their water. I mean, literally, I could hear it from upstairs in my room. Okay, so we're going to start reading. We finished the other book, A New World, and we are starting with, hold on a second, I thought I had it bookmarked. I really did. Yes, I do. Okay, so we're still doing spiritual liberation, and we held up on this chapter. Hold on, let me wave at you guys. We are on chapter 3. We stopped on page 33. 3 and 33. If you're into numbers, 333, right? Okay. So it's called, this subcategory that Michael did is called meditation, the art of mirroring our original face. We should be able to see ourselves with from the inside to the outside. I did a little blurb on my, you know how you have your picture at the top of your DMs, and you have people who have you can say a short sentence, and one of them I said, when you wake up and look at your AM mirror, source is reflecting back to you. You are the reflection of source, right? So Michael says in this subcategory, meditation, he has colons, not semicolon. It's called the art of mirroring your original face. So let's see what he has to say about that. If we want to travel to a certain destination, say the Cayman Islands, we can take a trip, a catamaran, a ship, a catamaran, or a jet plane, right? And this is not a deja vu, this is synchronicity, because I was talking to a friend of mine about a dream that I have been having consistently about living in Hawaii, and how I'm going to get there, because my daughter says, Mom, how are you going to get there? You don't prefer to fly. And my friend said this morning, she retorted to that conversation that me and my daughter had, and she said, there's so many ways to get there. You could take a boat to Hawaii, right? She says, if that's where you want to go, point out the destination. Which island do you want to go to? So I'm saying this is synchronicity, at least for me on my end. While we're reading this, why don't you see what the synchronicities are for you? Hi, Nige. Okay, so let's start again. If you want to travel to a certain destination, say the Cayman Islands, we can take a ship, a catamaran, or a jet plane. And then he says, likewise, there is transportation to transformation. Transportation to transformation. See? I'm telling you, synchronicity, right? Transportation to transformation of varying speeds and efficiencies. Not everybody is going to be on the same transportation to their transformation. It's not going to happen at the same time. and it's not going to happen in the same way. There is infinite possibilities of your transformation to transportation to transformation. Okay? The choice is yours, and there is no judgment about how long you decide to take. If you want to stop along the way and enjoy the scenery, that is your choice. If you desire a faster arrival, then you will choose a more efficient mode of transportation to take a direct route. It's all our choice. We all came here to play, learn wisdom and understanding in this human incarnation, and we get to take the vehicle of our choice to our transformation, however long it takes. Some people are constantly on the same vehicle that is not for their greater good, but that's their choice. All right, let's keep going. If you desire a faster arrival, then you will choose a more efficient mode of transportation and take the direct route. Like everybody says, oh, I got to get there right now, this minute, and they say, I got to fly. Or, case in point, me, I don't prefer the freeways. I just don't. They're chaotic. You have to not only be part of you, the driver, and trusting yourself, you have to trust other people on, that they got and know and will adhere to the rules that will keep them safe along the freeway. Not only keep them safe, but other people that they are also around. And some people just don't get that. The speed limit says 75. And they say, oh, that doesn't adhere to me, and they do 100. Get in an accident and take 3 or 4 people with them to their demise, to just say it that way. Or they survive and they've killed 3 or 4 people based on their perception or their perception of that rule didn't apply to them. So me, I prefer the streets and taking my time. But there are people who just say, I got to get there and get there now. And they're even if their intuitive self is saying, no, don't take the freeway today. Nope. I always do it. I must. And then get pissed off because the freeway that they decided to choose that day got slowed down because of an accident, and they were 3 hours late to work. When their intuition was saying, no, let's just take the streets today. Let's just chill. Right? That's just an example. Right? The most efficient transportation to inner transformation is the practice of meditation. And some people say, oh, meditation, that's a bunch of mamby-pamby stuff. That's wishy-washy. I don't have time for that. Or you come from old school church. Nope. Prayer do me just fine. Right? And you do a quick prayer for other people, and you've secured your day. You didn't do it for yourself, because the old school church that I came for is prayer is for you to pray for other people, to lift other people up. It's selfish to pray for yourself, right? Other people should be praying for you in church. Oh, pray for Sister Sandy. No. How do they know what's for your greater good or not? Only you know that. How do you do that? You have to take the time, and it's only because they called that word meditation. We gave it a word. Meditation is just being in oneness with Source, with Almighty God, sitting at the seat of your soul and having an embraced conversation about your greater good. We just happen to call it meditation. Or we just happen to call it prayer. But we got prayer backwards. Prayer should be not only for others, it should be for yourself as well. Okay, so in meditation, we observe that thoughts come and go. Emotions come and go. We catch that we are not our thoughts or our emotions. we finally figure out we have a thought. We have emotions, but we are not them. We have a brain, but we are not the brain. We have a conscious mind, but we are not the conscious mind. We are consciousness. We are awareness being aware, right? We see that everything is that which breaks up into change. Nothing remains the same except that which observes change within us. Everything else changes except the awareness that is within you. Right? The authentic self is the observer of change. Can I read that again for you? The authentic self is the observer of change. Your authentic self is observing the changes that are occurring. You are not the change. Change is just occurring. Right? Okay. The you who watches the constantly changing scenery of your mind and life. Okay, let me read that sentence in its fullness. The authentic self is the observer of the change. Take a pause. The you who watches the constantly changing scenery of your mind and life. You're not your mind. You're not your life. You are the observer of it. You are awareness being aware. All right? The inner witness is a dimension of who and what we really are. If you look within yourself, you won't find an accountant, an actress, a writer, a husband, a wife, a mother, a father, a daughter, or a son, and so on. Not even a spiritual seeker. You will find the self which has no name and no label. Awareness doesn't have a label. Even awareness, the word awareness, we're giving that word to it because it's not called anything to source. It just is. Okay? This is consciousness, the soul of you, what the Buddha calls the witness. The witness or the observer, right? Okay, let's keep reading. This is so exciting. In meditation, we have the opportunity to watch our own mind and become intimate with its mix of content, right? Its mix of content. When I first started doing Instagram and doing videos and stuff, my videos were so raw and so, new, and, I was a novice and everything. But the one thing I was sure of is that the contrast of my videos are the seasoning of the life that I was showing in my videos, that I was giving as I was learning and growing. Contrast is the very season of life. You have to have contrast. You have to have a negative for a positive. We created the word negative and positive as part of what duality, as part of us seeing duality, as part of us creating our lives. We got to see what negatively we didn't like so that we could change it. And if we change it to something that was for a greater good and that we enjoyed, and then we called it a positive, right? Okay. So seeing the mix of contents is the mix of contrasts, right? Okay, let's keep going. And to experience its organic clarity, strength, and peaceful abiding. Right? Those are the contents of what is within you that is coming from within you outward. But most of us are geared towards looking at our outer and going, what the fuck? Well, if your outer is engorged with despair and anxiety and depression and hate, it's inward. It's being projected out there. And you could say, oh, that couldn't be in me. But yes, it could. If you go deep within you in meditation, it's not shutting your mind down. It's getting to the point where you're quiet enough to observe your mind in all its incessant conversation. And the more you observe your mind, your egoic mind, mind you, not your conscious mind that source has given you. It's observing that constant chatter of your egoic mind. And once you start observing it and it realizes that you observe it, then it adheres to the quietness that you're observing it with, and it says, run. And it fades to the background. And then you get to keep observing, becoming more in power of what you're observing and how you want to change stuff. So if right now it's reflecting catastrophic failure in your outside world, you go in deep and go, where did that come from? You get to tap into your conscious mind and say, show me where that came from, because I know it came from somewhere inside of me. I know it was part of a past, and I want to only observe that past. I'm tired of judging it. So show me where my egoic mind got that from. And your egoic mind will say, she's about to do it, and go to the background, and awareness moves to the foreground and says, okay, Sandy, you wanted to show me this. And you're quiet enough, because you're in your meditation, to actually hear it from a conscious awareness. Let me show you where that came from. And then you get to shadow walk within yourself, within your own unconscious, and call that individual out that had that conscious thought pattern going. Why am I still standing here holding this bag of hate? Can't I get rid of it? This bag of hate is so heavy, and you can reach in and say, yes, come on forward. Here's the light within me, within my higher being, that's going to show you the way forward. And here's my hand, my vibrational hand, that's going to take yours, and then with me, you can surrender it to yourself, to that shadow self that's holding that. And surrender it. Say, let's just give it back to source. It's only energy. Source knows how to utilize energy and heal that energy, and then put it back into circulation. Let's just give it away. And then you get to ask that self that was back in those shadows, do you want to come forward with me for some glory and for some greater good? And that shadow self will say, yes, that's what I've always wanted to do. That's what meditation is about, right? Okay, so someone else just came in the room. I don't know if they stayed, but I am reading Spiritual Liberation by Michael Bernard Beckwith. We are reading a subsection called Meditation, the Art of Mirroring Your Original Face. Okay, so let's keep reading. We see that everything we see everything is that which breaks up into change. Nothing remains the same except that which observes the change within us. The authentic self is the observer of the change. You, who catches the constantly changing scenery of your mind and life. You are not your mind, you are not your life. You are the observer of your mind, egoic mind, and your life. And once you have, they want to say, overcome some of your egoic patterns, you can shift into your conscious mind. That's the mind that Source, Divine Creator, Almighty God gave you. And nothing's wrong with that mind. Nothing's wrong with what Source gave you. Source isn't broken. Your soul isn't broken. Your soul isn't fragmented. Your soul isn't shattered. Your ego wants you to think that that's it, so you won't look at your ego. Think about it. Try it on for size. See if it fits. One size doesn't fit all. The inner witness is a dimension of who and what we really are. If you look within yourself, you won't find an accountant, an actress, a writer, a husband, a wife, a mother, a father, a daughter, or a son, not even a spiritual seeker. You will find the self, which has no name and no label. This is consciousness, the soul of you, what the Buddha calls the witness. In meditation, we have the opportunity to watch our own mind, to become intimate with its mix of contents, and to experience its organic clarity, strength, and peaceful abiding. Meditation leads to Meditation leads to conscious use of the mind rather than being used by it. Constant use of your conscious mind rather than being used by your egoic mind system that is eroded and that has not been updated for eons. All right? As Osho, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, so I'll spell it. Osho. Osho. I tried. You tell me. Break it down into punctuation if you can. Wisely observed, and this is in parentheses, so he's saying a quote. Remember, the head as a slave is a beautiful slave of much utility. Okay. Remember, the head as a slave is a beautiful slave, comma, of much utility, but as a master, it is a dangerous master. Period. End quote. Meditation is a complement to any spiritual tradition and an exquisite practice for opening the heart of oneself and others. So I'm going to read that again. Meditation is a complement to any spiritual tradition and so he says A-N-D and A-N. In English language, you're not supposed to use those two together, but he does. So he did it for a reason. An exquisite practice for opening the heart to oneself and to others. So it's opening the heart to oneness. Us realizing that we're not singular, we're individuals, but we're part of the collective of the divine creation or the divine creator, right? Meditation blows back your hair and you glimpse what Buddha refers to as your original face. When you look in that mirror, in your meditation, you see the original face of you, God, Source moving in, through, and at you. Right? Your natural goodness and your true identity, perhaps for the very first time. And every meditation you do is the first time you do it. Every day is new. You are new, and your meditation is new. It's like you doing it for the first time. All right? You begin to be more comfortable being spontaneous because you catch your inner goodness. Hold on. He's got to run on sentence here. You begin to be more comfortable being spontaneous because you catch that your inner goodness is a reflection of the spontaneous goodness of the universe. Right? I'm taking a pause, seeing if you caught that. Drinking a sip of my coffee. I can taste the turmeric in it. Taking a sip of my water chaser. Yum. Okay, let's keep reading. As the world of phenomena spins around and around, revealing the constantly changing landscape of events, your inner happiness remains unchanged because it is not dependent upon or solely identified with the external aspect of life, though we used to believe that. More of us are waking up to the fact that we were born happy. Happiness is part of who we are. I remember my mother being told from one or more of my teachers, can you have her tone down that happiness? Right? One teacher told her, how come Sandy's always happy? Like that was a problem. Maybe because I verbalized it. Maybe because I couldn't sit still because I was happy. You see what I mean? But I was born happy. And my mother didn't, tell me stop doing it at all. She just kept saying, keep being you. It's okay. They'll figure it out. Right? And she didn't hem and haw and make me feel bad because I would get A's, B's, and sometimes C's, but I would get back in my when I went to school, they would, if you got an A, but you were a talker or you did something, they would put instead of it being an A or an A plus, they would give you an A minus, right? Which meant you better watch it. You're close to a B. And you get a B plus or a B minus. You better watch it. You're close to a C, the grading. And my mom just said, keep being you. You're happy, be happy. Right? Okay. So next, you remain anchored in that which is changeless, the eternal spirit of life out of which you have come. Awareness has always been in our background when we're unconscious and we're being utilized by our egoic mind system. Awareness hasn't gone anywhere. God hasn't abandoned you. I remember going to church and hearing, the pastor talked about God abandoning us and the women wailing and singing songs about getting God coming back into our lives and closer walk with thee and whatnot. God has not gone anywhere. We are just unaware. And we haven't abandoned God. We're just unaware. The more we live life and the more the choices are being presented to us, if we choose them, we choose them. If we don't, Source says it's still a choice. It's still a free will choice. Not good or bad, not indifferent to. It's just a choice. And you get to make a change from the choices that you have. If they're not for your greater good and they don't feel comfortable, can nobody change that but you? And God is not going to usurp your free will choice to be anxious or to be a hater or to be sitting in depression or whatnot. Those are our choices. And you say, well, what kind of God is that? What kind of God gives you free will and then usurps it with their own? Right? Just think about that. Nope, you're not doing it right. Do it this way. But that's not allowing Source, who is moving in, through, and as you, having a experience as you. That would defeat the whole duality purpose. Right? That would defeat the whole Earth School purpose. Think about it. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave it here in this room and you can go find another book that will present it in a different format that resonates with you. But in the end, it will all be the same. It will all be a closer polarity climb for your soul to merge back with Source. There is no wrong way because Source does not make anything right or wrong. It's energy. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I hope that registers. Not registers, but resonates. Okay. You remain anchored to that which is changeless, the eternal spirit of life of which you have come. Okay, self-realization, enlightenment, nirvana, these are attempts to express what defies description, right? We give title to everything, right? Such teachers as Jesus the Christ, not Jesus Christ. I haven't called Jesus Christ that in a long time. Jesus the Christ, okay, for me. Bhagavan, Krishna, Gautama, Buddha, and their disciples, the saints, the sages, the mystics of the world's wisdom traditions, who have reached the state of awakened consciousness, have, and I've never heard this word. I think it's called, no, I've heard it. I just never seen it spelled. Concocted. I've never used it. I don't remember having it as a spelling word or ever having been called to use it in a sentence. So this is my first time seeing it being spelled. But see how my inner being helped me see that word? Concocted words and definitions to inspire and motivate us to begin our own individual journey. Stepping onto the transportation of transformation is more seductive when the human mind can identify a purpose, a description, fuel, so he's got to run on sentence, so I'm going to slow down. Stepping onto the transportation of transformation is more seductive when the human mind can identify a purpose. Take a pause, there's a comma there. So descriptions fuel our enthusiasm, our commitment, and nourish our hearts. So having, labeling something isn't a bad thing. It's being pulled into the label and sitting and staying in that label. And when it starts to turn and be not for your greater good, staying in it anyway. Okay? When choosing your transportation to transformation, your choice will determine the progress you make. Explore, and there's a comment, take a pause. Experiment in the laboratory of your own consciousness. Try it on for fucking size. One size does not fit all. Okay? So explore, explore what I'm reading to you. See if it resonates. Go buy the book and see, well, let me find out what Sandy's really saying on page 34. Let me see if my soul is resonating with her soul about what we just read, about what Source just gave her to say, that gives more explanation to it or breaks down the explanation of Gary Zukav's book. And we're reading, not Gary Zukav's book, I'm sorry, Michael Beckwith's book. It's called Spiritual Liberation. Go get that book. It's on page 34 that I'm reading it. And try it on for size for you. Right? Okay. So explore it. Experiment in the laboratory of your own consciousness and life. Try it on for size. See how it fits. Do you have to tailor it? Or do you want it to just flow on you? Or do you want to tailor it to fit you? Right? That's your choice. Whether you decide on a single vehicle or transfer to several modes of transportation, surrender fully to each one so that you give to life all the gifts you have come to share and receive all that you so richly deserve. Right? There may be many transportations that you take to your transformation. When I was growing up, we call it the Rapid Transit District. We called it, for short, we called it the RTD. Right? And we just called it Rapid Transportation to, we had a short for it. No, we called it we called it Richard T. Davis, kids, right? But it was called Rapid Transit District. And it was buses that go, north. You can go so far north on the number 12. And then you had to transfer to the east, number 34. And you had to get to your destination. And you paid money to ride on one, and then you paid extra money to get a transfer ticket to ride on the next bus, right? Which means you didn't have to pay full price for each bus. If you were riding on the number, I used to ride the number 12, and the number 12 would take me to the number 210, and I would get a transfer. You have to make sure you're getting the right transfer to the right transportation for your life, and opening up your gifts in your life and using them for your greater good and for those that are going to benefit or be affected by your different transportation to your opening up your embodiment, right? Okay, so let's keep going. Now, he has, when he's finishing up, his chapter, or his, his chapter, his chapter, let's just call it. We're finishing up chapter 3, transportation to transformation. He will have affirmations and embodiments. And sometimes his embodiments are one page, and sometimes there are many pages. But I'm just going to read the affirmation. Okay? And this is something you can say or not. I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to do my water chaser. Thank you for allowing me that pause. His affirmation on page 34 says, I fully recognize and activate my power to set clear and potent intentions. My intention is inwardly directed, and I receive intuitive guidance in language my heart can understand and respond to. In gratitude, I surrender and trust where the Spirit is leading me in my intention and transformation. And the embodiment of this affirmation, he says, the Spirit of the living God already knows my completion, my transformation. Source already knows. Source gave infinite possibilities for it. We get to choose. Source doesn't get to tell us what we should choose, right? These are the only thoughts it has about me. My conviction of this truth and the action I take are my transportation to transformation. The power of my intentions to grow and expand in consciousness is heaven opening up its windows to me. And source, I say, it's consciousness is absolution opening up its windows to me. That's what I say instead of heaven. I call it absolution, the realm of absolute, the realm of absolute. That's what I call it. Source just wanted me to share that with you. And then next he says, I enter that meditative space right here, right now, and enter my inner heaven of joy, inspiration, peace, and wisdom. As I sit and observe the contents of my mind, I breathe in acceptance of the work I am to do to transform by the renewing of my mind through the power of intention and attention. Right? By the time I finished reading that first paragraph, I had soul tingles because I felt it. I saw what it was like to embody my intention to transform, right? I saw that embodiment. Hi, Sarah. Right? And Sarah, I'm finishing up chapter 3 of spiritual liberation. So I'm reading the embodiment part. Grand Rising. So let me read the next paragraph, right? He says, and sometimes, remember, he uses big words, but his choice of big words are really and attention grabbing, right? As discursive thoughts arise that are not aligned with my intention, I calmly discard them without judgment. They have no power over me. Only the Spirit has full sway over my life and guides my steps, right? Because your spirit or your soul is in alignment with you, and it'll guide you, right? Only the Spirit has full sway over my life and guides my steps. Spirit is in the midst of me and lovingly guides my path to awakened consciousness. And then he puts in parentheses, he says, pause and feel into that statement. You're in meditation. So you can take the pauses and feel. Feel yourself in that transformational essence of who you are, right? Breathe into it and remain still for 5 minutes or longer. Okay? Then he says in the next paragraph, he says, and this is the embodiment to the affirmation that we just read, I feel and sense my oneness with this presence. I sing from a place of awareness. I dance from it. I am silent in it. I pray from the state of consciousness, knowing that I intentionally speak this word. A movement in consciousness stirs within me, a realization that in innate wholeness, abundance and prosperity, health and peace are the spiritual birthright of all beings. I was born with it. That's what you need to say. I was born with wholeness. I was born abundant. I was born prosperous. I was born healthy. I was born peaceful. These are your birthright. This is who you are. Embody it. Right? Then he says in the next paragraph, this is again the embodiment to the affirmation. I'm going to read the affirmation afterwards. Intention and surrender are, I'm going to slow down. Intention and surrender even now free me. You're liberated. You were born liberated. You were born that way. Your ego doesn't see it that way. It doesn't know anything about that. It doesn't know about the divine creator. It was just a subroutine that was created by your conscious mind when it realized that it was consciousness, and it was waiting and allowing your soul consciousness to unveil itself as we started to live life. All right? So let's read this. Intention and surrender even now free me. There is nothing inhibiting this divine flow. It's happening right now. I feel it in my bones and I give thanks for it. These moments of quietude reveal to me in the grand design of the universe and my place in it. You're part of the universe. You're not separate from the universe. You are the universe. Right? I respond to this knowledge and get out of the way of it happening in, through, and as me. Get out your fucking way. Source is moving in, through, and as you. You got this. Don't let your ego get in the way. It wants to get in the way. It wants you to be its personality. You got your own. It's called soul. It's called spirit. It's called source. All right? It blows back my hair and reveals, hold on. Yeah, I missed one sentence. I move from potential to actuality. Fulfillment is occurring. It blows back my hair and reveals my original face. I am now becoming more aware as I continue to turn within. I realize that I am becoming the individual that I have always wanted to be. And then think about what you've always wanted to be. There is more love, more harmony, more patience and humility, more generosity, more beauty, and more creativity And then source wants me to add within me. My field of perception is widening and my spiritual vision is increasing. I free myself from the clutches of the ego and make space for the universe to become conscious of itself as me. And then in parentheses, he says, pause for several moments and enter the feeling tone of that true statement. Is it truth to you? Are you feeling it? Right? Are you vibrating it? If you're vibrating it, everything that you're allowing or wanting or desiring or even expecting from you're pulling it back from the future and you're bringing it into your now, and it's vibrating and aligning with you. Right? Okay. So he says, pause for several minutes and enter the feeling tone of that truth statement, not true statement, truth statement. If your attention begins to wander, gently bring it back to your breath. Right? Then he says, transformation is the field on which I play, work, love, create, give, and serve. Think about saying that in your meditation. Just if you're not saying it out loud, you're internalizing it, you're bringing it to one with the beingness that you are. That's vibratory. Oh, that's vibratory power, right? As the world of phenomena spins around, I release all that would inhibit the fulfillment of the revelation I receive in this period of meditation. Your meditation, when you're in it, that's your now moment, baby. All right? As I take my next holy breath, I establish an intention from the depths of my being. I wrap my entire consciousness around it and infuse it with my enthusiasm. Remember, we read from the other book that we just finished, A New Earth, that we are enthusiasm. We were born enthusiasts. Then we need to open up those gifts and let it pour into our everyday being, into the world. That's how people see. When they look at you, they see the face of God, or the face of the Almighty, or the face of oneness, or the face of illusion, or the face of the Matrix, or the face of divine creator. Whatever label you've got, they're seeing it. All right? So it says, infused with my enthusiasm, my willingness to surrender anything that would block its activation in my life. And he says to take another pause and state your intention out loud or silently, right? Repeat your intention several times, infusing it with the energy of conviction and confidence. You were born confident. You were born knowing that you know. You were born. You may have been veiled like an onion, like a big ass onion, pulling back all those layers till you get to the goody stuff, till all that shredded stuff just pulls off and you can chop that onion and make whatever dish you want to make. And the onion, as you cook it, is going to reveal itself to you. Right? I'm almost finished, Ray, and then I'll let you in. Okay? I take another breath, or he says, take another breath and allow this intention to take form or firm root and into your consciousness. Right? Every thought, every feeling, every perception is saturated with the commitment or your commitment into the intention. It's saturated in your embodiment. You're the plant food. You are what's going to make it grow. Okay? He says, bathe yourself or bathe your Can you hear me? I had a call come through. I don't know who it's from. Okay, so it says, bathe your mental body, emotional body, etheric body, and physical body in your intention and give it your full attention. All right, next, and I have a trash truck that's moving by, and it's rumbling right now and clanging. So, as a spiritual warrior, your courage to face that is required for your transformation. Hold on. I'm going to read it how he wrote it. As a spiritual warrior, he says, my courage to face all that is required for my transformation is embodied with grace and ease. Say that. If you have the book, like for me, I have the book. If I can't remember it verbatim, I just do it my way. I tailor it to me. Right? Yes. In your words, if you're calling it the battles you fight, you're only fighting the battle against your egoic mind. If you stop fighting the battle with your egoic mind and say it is just what it is, then your ego stops fighting you. If you stop resisting your ego and you start surrendering to, well, the situation is what it is. Who do I want to be in this situation? And the moment you say, who do I want to be in the situation, awareness comes to the forefront, your ego moves to the background, and then you can decide. But here's a tip that Source is giving me. Stop fighting it. If you say you're fighting something, the universe has no recourse but to give you more situations and circumstances that you fight. It's based on the words that you speak. Right? So change your wording. You're not fighting anything. You can say, oh, I was resisting that, but I'm no longer resisting it. I'm going to just let it be. I'm going to let it flow. And as I'm letting it flow, I'm observing, who do I want to be while this is flowing to me? This situation is not my enemy. So once I stop making it my enemy, right? Who do I want to be to move to the next step, to find the answers that I need to find in the situation? Does it make much sense? Because we go back to the fact that ever since, from kindergarten all the way through us going and graduating college and doing, our dissertations and all that, we've been taught how to spell on ourselves. And we've been taught how to speak negatively about ourselves. And we've been taught we're a warrior and we're fighting. Well, if you're fighting something, Source is always going to give you and open up more things to fight. It's our words, even against ourselves, right? So let's keep reading. I hope that makes sense. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. One size doesn't fit all. Okay, so here he comes. As a spiritual warrior, my courage to face, and that's what we can say is a warrior. We have courage to face things, right? As a spiritual warrior, my courage to face all that is required for my transformation is embodied in grace and ease. Hello, how are you? This is a prayer that is heard and responded to by the universe. And like I said, embody it. Maybe you're not going to remember everything that I read, but maybe you wrote something down that will be an embodiment to help you through your affirmations, right? This is a prayer that is heard and responded to by the universal law. Beyond human reasoning, beyond intellect, even beyond appearances, I throw open my heart and make room for a great transformation to unfold within me and express through me. All right? From this moment on, everything unfolds in a most magnificent way, and I release myself into the great excellence and simply let it be. And then he ends it with, make it so. Right? Okay, now I'm going to go back and I'm going to read the affirmation that he did this embodiment for. The affirmation was, he said, I fully recognize and activate, I'm sorry, let me have some water. I fully recognize and activate my power to set clear and potent intentions. My attention is inwardly directed, and I receive intuitive guidance in language of my heart. I think it should be in the language my heart can understand and respond to. In gratitude, I surrender and trust where the Spirit is leading me in my way, in my intention to transform. All right? And that finishes chapter 3 of spiritual liberation, right? Okay. So hold on a second. And I'm going to do my bookmark. And I'm going to close the book. And I'm going to invite wonderful Rea. She's with I'll Say It. And here she comes. Hello. Hello.
Divine Flying Sister.
How are you?
Trying to get situated in a very cluttered Georgia space. But more confirmation for your Hawaii trip.
Oh. Boy, Boyka says the way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. Love his books. Yeah, very relaxing. Yeah, you know, we're always talking about what we're warring, how we have to fight. Fight the good fight. The thing is, listen to those words. Fight. It's a good fight. It's a fight. So, Rea, did you enjoy that reading at all? Did it resonate?
I was listening the entire time.
Yeah.
I was body doubling while you were doing that because I'm in my childhood home for the first time in years.
Really?
Before my son was born.
Oh.
So there's a lot of in-depth shadow work, to say the least.
Oh, wow.
And it's interesting that the main person that is abdicating for me and my son is my mom's boyfriend.
Oh, wonderful. Right?
So, but it's interesting how fast that I have to keep reminding myself that I'm an adult, that I have a child, and that even if there are moments where I literally feel like I'm being talked to like I was 17 again, that I can make the choice to do something different. And when I do, I think it still kind of takes my mom back instead of me like yelling or doing the other things, because I know now why a lot of things when it comes to my my social skills.
Right.
And I love you too, honey.
Stop turkey.
The last 2 days, I have been in and out of the hospital with my son because they keep saying that he has bronchitis. But the medicine that they gave him hasn't really been touching anything.
Right.
So it's my mom seeing me in a different light. She's seeing me as a mother. So there are times where she'll say something to me about my son, and I will immediately respond with, "That's not what we do."
Right.
And I'm noticing she's having a hard time shifting from being where in her mind, her egoic mind, that she's supposed to be mother.
Right. Mother.
But she needs to adjust into being a grandmother.
Right.
At least when it comes to me and my son. When it comes to my brother, I think my brother has pretty solid boundaries.
Right.
But it's an interesting shift.
Right. Interesting shift. Matter of fact, that's a synchronicity, because I was also talking about that to my friend this morning. But it was about me. It was about me, not me. For me, I went through a you know, I didn't go through it with my sons, but with my daughter, I went through what you call that, what do you call it? The empty nest syndrome, right? And the ego jumping in there saying, well, look at this. Now all your kids are spread out and they're not going to be close to you. And that whole, but it was like, once I realized that my ego had this story going on, I had to change the story. Hey, look, I'm not the mom. I'm still their mother, but I'm not the mom that took care of them, made sure, that things were, did everything for them.
Yeah.
They're, look at it. They're my children are adult children. And when they ask me for help I'm going to be there. But, some of the stuff they can just figure out. They're figuring it out on their own. And, sometimes they need you, to observe that the things that you gave them to live life, you get to start seeing it in action, And so I was talking to my friend about that, yeah, now, I'm seeing my perception has changed. I'm seeing it, a view from a grandmother. I'm seeing it as a mother, watching my children do what I did for them, which was being a mother, or being, for my youngest son, being a father. So the story is just different. Indigo says, today is my daughter's 20th birthday. I struggle with adjusting to her being an adult. Yeah, but that's your struggle, not hers, right? I finally realized it. I finally got honest with myself. My daughter and my sons are not doing anything to me to make me struggle. That's my struggle. And either I do one or two things. I keep up with the struggle, or I surrender it. One of the two. I mean, and guess what? Source is going to say yes to either one, right? So, yeah.
I hear you. It's interesting, like, how you place that, because one of the things was, like, when I came home and there was so much clutter around, like my anxiety, my all of my tism things were just like,
right.
And then my mom's boyfriend told me, you and your son are going to be in here for a while, so make this space, make this room yours. If we have to move things out of there, then that's what we'll do. And my mom almost had like a teenage hissy fit. Well, she's got to let me know where she's moving these things, because it's my house and I have it the way that I want it. And I literally had something pop up on my YouTube about how clutter is associated to trauma. And I almost laughed at, like, one of the most inappropriate times to laugh, with my mom right there. And there was a part of me that wanted to, as much as I wanted to almost be in that argumentative feeling of, like, resistance, it was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And every time when I would hear the tone of her voice started to shift, like I was getting ready to be the one that started causing the arguing, I said, no, that's not what I said.
Mm-hmm. Right.
My younger self, I have a very hard issue with tone just naturally, but I know that's just part of my neurological brain,
Right.
similar to my son's.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I had to say this morning was like, I said a couple of expletives, you know, with some rainbow colorful language, and my mom was like, "We don't say that stuff in this house." And I just kind of looked at her, and I was like, "Do I need to go outside and open the door so I can speak freely as an adult? So
Mhm.
you hear me?" Well, we don't use that language in this house. Her boyfriend was a Marine.
Mhm.
I said, I understand that you're saying you don't want certain language in this house because of the children, but I also prepared my children because they will hear everything under the sun in public school. What I taught them is that there's a time and a place to be able to express yourself fully. One. And two, when it comes to shouting expletives, it does not leave the house. And what's even more interesting is my sons will recognize a word that is an adult word or an adult phrase, and he will correct the adult and say, "That's not a nice word,"
Mhm.
or "That's a bad word."
Right.
My younger son says the word "stupid" is a bad word. I said, "No, it's not. It's not a bad word. It's just a not nice word. But you shouldn't say it to people anyway to be mean."
Right.
But I have caught my younger one catching more adults with their language than even, you know, in other situations. So it's kind of fascinating that because I gave them that power to be able to express themselves, they're less likely to use that language unless that they feel like it is necessary
Right. Yeah.
and in the safety of their home.
Right. Because what they learn in their safety of their home as we go to, yeah.
I bet Pikachu is sleeping.
But
He's saying
so
Pikachu is sleeping.
oh um oh so in when you're, you know, when you're trying to move from that struggle, I mean, I did it too, you know, and it, you know, and but it was me, it was my struggle, not my. Hi, Ruth, I saw that you did call, but I'm, of course, I'm on the live, so it didn't go all the way through, but I will give you a call, Fifi, in a minute. Is that okay? Um, yeah, so Indigo, uh, I went through it too. You have to try things on for size, what works for you. You know, as far as the fact that you call it a struggle, you know what you're going through. And for me, I didn't call it a struggle, but I knew it was triggers within me. And it wasn't my daughter's triggers. It wasn't my son's. They're doing what they have to do. They're going on to their, you know, on their journey. And they have me in their story in a certain way, right? Um, can you guys hear me? Can you hear me, Al? I mean, Ray? Okay, great.
I don't mind either way.
Oh, okay. So, what was I saying? Oh, so just know that your daughter turning 20, she's got a flip side of a story, and she's got you in that story you know, maybe you're not her mom in that way anymore, but she's an adult now. She gets to talk to you as an adult. So, you know, she might start talking to you as an adult and having you as a friend, and not necessarily wanting you to judge her for everything that she's talking about. Maybe it's just about you getting to observe. And then when she says, "Hey, you know, blah, 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 what do you think about that, Mom?" Okay, she's opened it up for you guys to have a conversation without judgment, with discerning, and it took me literally to right now to understand that my children were having a story opposite the story that I was having, and my story wasn't relinquishing itself. It wasn't allowing me to jump on the transportation to transformation. My ego was still there, pretending very well that it was, it was giving me some good information, but I didn't discern it for my greater good until now, right? And I'm going to tell you, I'm in my 60s, my children are in their 40s, and that's a long time to not acknowledge the empty nest or empty nest syndrome. It's just
what I would love to, oh, sorry.
It's just empty nest syndrome, a little now that she works full time and lives an hour away. But now you think about it, if you flip it, you can say she's only an hour away. What great. She's not 5 hours away and I don't have to get on a plane. Do you see the greater good in that? That she's an hour away, only an hour. God, she's productive. Is she enjoying what she's doing? We're going to have more things to talk about. She's going to be able to talk about her job. She's going to be able to talk about her successes. She's going to, do you know what I mean? It's not really, now you're not focusing on empty nest syndrome. You're focusing on, wow, what's the next leg of my journey, right? Because that's the whole thing. We raise our kids so that they grow and they expand and they grow out and they become something more. And then we take ourselves to have a great experience too. It took me a while to get there. Source was showing me, but my ego was blocking it. I guarantee you our egos are blocking it by giving us a similar statement, but that is not for our greater good. It's only a statement, so it gets fed lower energy. Go ahead, Ray.
I was just going to add also, like, taking into account when Indigo, when your daughter is now talking to you, your brain will still sometimes have those moments perceiving her as your child or her as a teen. You are now having to invite yourself into her experience now as an adult, even though there's that aspect of your costume of a mom that you have to take a step back now because she is now an adult. As much as she may still have some tendencies when she was like younger as a teen, or the way that she speaks, the first thing that I've noticed a lot of the time is when my mom feels like she's being challenged instead of just having a conversation, she automatically sees me as the teenager that was rebellious and didn't listen to her. But I know now that a lot of the things that I did, even as a teenager, that I wasn't necessarily being fully disrespectful. It was my autism. So understanding that now and trying to reparent myself in the moment is also breaking the chain aspect of the generational curse of not being heard, because the older generations, children should be seen, not heard, is now I validate my children when they talk to me versus you don't need to be in this conversation.
Right.
Or what I will tell my kids is I might not be able to tell you the full story now, but when you're older, I will let you know.
Right.
Because I have transparency with my children.
Fifi says, is the control that is hard to give up? Yes. Yes. It's not just only control. It's the idea that we're keeping our children safe and we're making the decisions for them and we're doing this for their greater good. That's part of what parenthood is. At least my perception of what parenthood was. That, and my children should always come to me because, man, I can fix everything. I'm the super mom. And being a single mom on top of that, I'm the little the the hen that keeps all her chicks together, right? And for them growing up, hopefully that was for their greater good. But the thing is, it's not when they hit 20 that they're grown. It's when they start actually having that cognitive ability to ask questions and discern on their own, right? And that's when they start, what we as parents call pulling away from us, because they want to have autonomy over what they're learning. They want to discern it on their own and then come to you when they can't discern it. But we as parents, based on all of the downloads that we got on what parenting should be like, we acclimate, and we don't move from it. We don't transform from that children should be seen and not heard. Well, why are you debating what I just told you? It's not that they're debating it. They're trying to make cognitive sense of how to do that when they get to the point where they're going to have to make these decisions on their own. They can't formulate that conversation or dialogue to us, but it's what they're doing internally. Now, maybe they're doing some of it with their ego in tow, because ego says, I want to be right all the time, even if the situation is wrong. That's your ego. That portion of your ego saying, I'm right all the time, no matter what, and I'm going to argue with another ego that's saying I'm right all the time, is for what both egos are doing is they're protecting this body. They're doing it on a broken recorded record, and we're not being observant of it. And kids, if we control them their whole life expectancy of childhood, they don't know how to go in there and discern. They're learning just like us, that we should be discerning it and not judging it.
So what's really funny is I just found this book on top of all of the things. It's called Lead by Example, 50 Ways Great Leaders Inspired Results. And obviously there was a bookmark of some form.
Mm-hmm.
And it's lesson 11. But I was told before I even said that it was lesson 11 that I'm supposed to read the page before, and it says, air out of the concoction before it has risen. Once the idea has baked, however, it must be shared. Leaders know that their ideas must become our ideas if they have any chance of survival, let alone implementation. Collaborative thinking opens the door to collaborative development and execution. It also makes reviewing the entire process accessible and normal. That contributes to a sharing of the enterprise on a personal level, and that may require another meeting. And then Beacon of Light 1234 just joined. And the quote on the developing questions on lesson 11 is, the smart ones ask when they don't know, and sometimes when they do. And it's by Malcolm Forbes.
Good. Great. Yes. Wonderful. And
hello, random spirit.
I'm gonna say I just got from my soul that this is gonna be part of. If you don't mind, I'm going to ask you if I can use this in my as part of my my podcast series as a special. I'm going to save it and put it on my podcast in Spotify. So.
And what did my God just tell your guys? Ito rin siya latakira la mosolari atata. Istitikire atati.
No, tushishi so no to ku unai na tushi na taka. It's also blind.
Yeah, I know it's always polite to ask, but still, we're soul sisters at this point.
Yeah. So, and anybody asking a personal question, because I'm going to put it onto my Spotify, which means lots of other people will see it. Please know, don't put personal things. Ask personal questions. in this going forward in this, because I really want to share this information. I think this is great information. If you have anything that is really, really private, you can either DM myself or Ray, and we will we will answer your questions that way. So yeah, so and just talking about empty nest syndrome, and also about when a lot of us, we are going through, I have a client who is whose mother had offered him to come stay with her so he could save some money, and he was having a hard time doing that. And the thing is, you never know how source is going to open doors for you. And sometimes we can be stubborn because our ego will say, no, 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 especially for men. No, 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 you can't go back and sleep on your mom's couch. Or no, 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 you can't go back and have your mom take care of you. But that's not. You have to actually have active listening, and listening to your parents, or if it's your brother or uncle, or if it's your best friend that is saying, hey, I know you're going through a tough time. Let me help you. How can I help you? And then instead of judging yourself, which your ego will do, observe yourself and your needs, and where source is opening up the help from, and then discern it. Because a lot of the times when you're going back to, just like Ray is went back to her family home, and she's doing this until she can get into a better place. Source is saying, here, I've opened up this for you. You're going back home as a adult daughter who is accepting help, but it doesn't mean that your growth stops as an adult, that your growth stops as as a embodied spiritual person who's evolving and expanding on your own. It doesn't stop that way. It means that now you have to have these active listening conversations, which means when you're active listening, your ego gets put in the background, and your ego doesn't like that. Your ego is going to say, what the fuck are you holding me back for? I can answer that question for you. But you're saying, nope, I'm still listening, right? Because the moment that you are actively listening, you're in your now moment. Doesn't mean that your mom is in her now moment, or your dad is in their now moment, or your sister or your brother, or whoever you're having an active conversation with. It means that you're in your now moment. You're actively in your now moment, which means that your ego gets pushed back to the background, and your awareness is in the foreground, and it's saying, I am aware of what I'm listening to, right? Gravity, Matt says, awareness is a MF. Yes, you are. But remember, not awareness. Ego is an MF. But ego is not your enemy. It's not your best friend, but it's not your enemy, because your conscious mind would not have created an enemy for you. It created something to keep you safe until it figured out how it can merge with soul consciousness and body consciousness and become your authentic triune creator. It never meant to create an enemy for you. It's just that subroutine, because it's been used and never updated and upgraded and observed, is thinking it's all on its own. And it's giving you some information that's not for your greater good. And it's giving you some information that just really doesn't make you feel great. And guess what? Because information has been downloaded in it that tells us that the ego is our mind. And it tells you that it's only, I think we only use, it's been downloaded to us that we only use 15% when we don't use, or we don't have the capability to use the rest of the 80%, that we get stuck in that pattern. Right? let's see. Yes, it's a stepping stone to evolution. Yes. Your ego feeding you negative information or information that's not for your greater good is an arrow pointing to you to change. But you're the only one that can decide what the change is. And guess what? You've got all these other pointers in you. It's called emotions and feelings. You got to feel if you don't feel good. It's you tapping into who you are, and how you're evolutionarily, how you're going to grow in evolution, because growth and expansion are the thing that we came to do. Right?
I also would like to add that doing the work comes in many forms. So some people will do therapy, some people will do yoga. Some people just having that hard conversation that you are constantly trying to avoid when it comes to a family member, a loved one, your child, that is the moment or the conversation that needs to take place for that generational curse or that family dynamic shift that needs to happen. There are reasons beyond me and my son for safety where I'm staying with my mom right now in Georgia. There were other things that I found out later as I was cleaning up that I don't even think any of my other family members know some of the things that Spirit has given me information on, let alone how to even approach those conversations. Because there's so much clutter and so much unpackaging of the house's energy in itself.
Right.
That I literally can only take one room at a time.
Right.
And I also have to be mindful that as much as it makes me anxious, that this is not my house anymore.
Right.
And that's something that's also hard to say, because in some cultures, it doesn't matter if you leave for 10 years. Some parents will always have that room for you in the house.
Right.
I don't have that. And I have to come to terms with that, because I've seen people who have parents that leave their room the way they left it right before college, or at least they update it as they go, whether it's somebody that is still around or a child that has passed.
Yeah.
And there is a difference, because some people with the passing of a child before their time, some people will turn that space into essentially a mausoleum.
Right.
And Spirit has always told me, one way or another, that in most cases, those ancestors, those guides, or those family members that you loved and cherished would look at you and be like, here's your craft room. Here's your workout room. Do your work. I'm not going to be offended for it. But other people in the 3D state would see that as being disrespectful of the space. They won't move on from past relationships, things along those lines.
Right.
But if we realize that we are doing a disservice to our loved ones when we stay in that mentality for too long. Everybody grieves in different ways, but you can't stay there forever. And that's confirmation right there. And I didn't even have to hear it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, my throat chakra just is pulling it out. But also, Source resonated in my soul that even though that's not your home anymore, where you are is your home in here. And it resonates outward. And as you're cleaning that clutter, in vibration of you, and being a daughter who is respecting her mother in what her mother calls her home, right? you are creating and fulfilling that home within you. Source is your home. Source is your home.
My grandma just knocked over my old lava lamp, and what was funny is I had two lava lamps, one that got destroyed and the other one is made with dolphin glitter.
Ooh.
And that's the one she just knocked over.
Right. And then welcome, Dee. Welcome, Dee.
That sounded like my gram.
Right. So as you're, clean, moving the clutter, like, and just to have your mother's boyfriend as that advocate of change, of allowing you to, he's the transportational, transportation. He's the transportation that your soul is tapping into to ride to, something new for your greater good, while you're rebranding yourself.
It's just hysterical because of like our guides have so much like humor. At least our soul family, I feel, because honestly, like when I talk to other Star fam, the first thing that pops into my head is, where the hell was I when I signed for these contracts? Like, I feel like I was hungry, I had to go get a drink, or I had to go to the bathroom, because one of those three things didn't happen where I was haphazardly saying, yes, I want to experience this kind of trauma. Yes, I want to go through this situation with my older son. And just the dynamics and the family shifts. But I know that if I didn't go through the nasty divorce that I had with my parents, that I wouldn't have been able to keep it together even a fraction of what I had to deal with my stepson when he was 15 months.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at that.
No.
Because I must have been stoned as shit. But the thing is,
my grandpa's name was Matt, so yeah, probably.
The thing about soul contract, everybody has a version of what they deliver to us as information about soul contracts, right? Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just means that that's how source delivered it to the person, and how they are delivering it to you might be delivered verbatim as source gave it to them, or they might have gotten creative with their words and maybe slightly off. Source gave me the information is, we're viewing soul contracts as contracts that we have as humans. Like we're talking about lawyers, and we're talking about, the contract being fulfilled, and we have to do XYZ to break the contract or whatnot. And source resonated with me that the only contract that the soul made was, it said, I want to go to Earth School. It looks like it will be fun. I want to go and play and be in a human incarnate. And I want to express or find out what the opposite of love is, or joy is, or whatever it is. And then it took this blueprint and gave us the pencil and eraser and said, okay, now show me. So and then what we did is we took that, what we call contract that they did. The soul said, oh, I want to be a husband. And then other souls said, okay, I'll be your wife. And then another one said, okay, I'll be your kids. You know, okay, I'll be your daughter or whatnot. And I want to experience, you know, some souls said, I only know things as vibrational, as being alive forever. I only know eternity. I want to know what it's like to be born and to die. And then they came and they said, well, okay, I've heard that Earth School is the best place to learn that. And they came to learn it. Doesn't mean that they have to die a horrific death, but we get to start changing the blueprint, right? We get to do that. And here we are, these people that took it from joy into, you know, a work, a process, and we developed all the words to it. We developed all the labels to it, and then we said, oh well, it was certain people who want, you know, the certain 3% or 2% that want the rich, and they're, you know, only certain corporations that are leading the way or leading the charge. But we also decided we were going to be the followers. And now we're waking up to the fact that we don't want to follow it anymore, but it is a story. And Source said, well, you wanted it that way. That was a choice. You did it for a while. Now, whatever your life has presented now, you get a choice to change it. So no, we consciously, we wouldn't have chosen to be married and divorced or be with people who abused us or molested us or raped us or whatnot. No, we wouldn't have chose that purposely. But we had life choices unconsciously based on our egoic system that said, okay, well, you know, to keep you safe, you need to be married. But it didn't give you any choices of who you should be married to and if it should be for your greater good or not. We had to try it on for size. We tried it on for size. It didn't work. We had to, you know, we had to go, okay, that's not working for me. That's not for my greatest good. I don't feel good. This man that I married, he's you know, he's an abuser. You know, he mistreats me, and you get to have that moment to walk away. Oh, let's see. Matt says, I chose to get so sick I lost my family. It's a choice, but you didn't choose. You didn't say, I'm going to get so sick I lost my family. What you chose was you chose situations and circumstances without discerning it. This, your ego doesn't discern, Matt. It's not that your ego is just giving you you know, certain, what do you call it, certain opportunities that it's not discerning, but we didn't know that we could observe it. You just didn't know it. It wasn't like you did something on purpose to hurt yourself or hurt your family. The first thing you got to do is forgive yourself. Go inward and forgive yourself. Just forgive yourself. Don't put a whole list of what you need to forgive yourself for. Just say, I forgive me. And I surrender that forgiveness to Source. Source is going to take that energy and create it better and cleanse that energy and put it out. Of that
Your soul chose, it seemed like a good idea at the time. I'm going to experience this fully and to the best of my ability. Doesn't necessarily mean it's not without discomfort.
truth. It and the thing is, soul is saying, hey, you know what? This isn't a contract that you need to commit to. You can change that blueprint any way you want to. Okay, it says, oh, in the matrix, the moment that you are with the matrix can be created. Only your ego wants you to break free from the matrix. Why? Because it doesn't want you to know that you are the creator of the matrix, that you are, that that source is moving in, through, and as you, and created, I want to call it duality or awareness. Source is saying, create. I'm right now. You don't like the situation or the circumstance. You don't like what is given, or you don't like what you created from it. Then change it. And the only that doesn't want you to change is ego, because if you change, then your ego doesn't get fed that low density energy, and it doesn't feed me. Hold on. That's great, but now there are 18 hours. They are 18 hours away, no contact, and I don't know how to do that, and probably can't, and I will have to move on and go to what is he trying to say? Go on to do life without them. Well, if that's your thought pattern, if that's what you want to relay to the universe is going to say yes. You want to go on without them. You don't know how that can change. The universe is going to say yes, I'll give you that. But if you want to change that wording into something a little bit more positive for you, if you want to take that blueprint and erase some of those words that you just said and put something positive that you really want to see, that will put you back into their lives and them into yours. You're the creator. Source is moving in, through, and as you, Matt. What are you going to create? I mean, I can't, I personally can't, agree or disagree with you. I can just say you can change it, but that's up to you how you're going to change it. Just like Lee, just like Ray she's working on her room right now. She says, well, it is what it is. I'm back in my family home. This is how it's going to be. She said she surrendered to the fact that this is the way it's going to be, and she's cleaning up the clutter so her and her sons can live a life. She changed the blueprint. She's allowing her soul to embody a new way of life, seeing it in a different frame. So Matt, you got to do the same thing too. How you got to do it, I don't know. I can't give you that answer.
A small house can hold as much happiness as a big one.
Thank you. And here's the thing. A house, that's just a manifestation. That's just a manifestation. But where is the house? The house is you. The house is you. Let's see. I want life where I'm no longer so mental that I get aggressive, abusive, and controlling. Where I'm a healthy father and husband who can have. See, you said it right there, Matt. Put that out into the universe. Make that your affirmation, and then go embody that. That's right, Dee. Accept what is to make a way for what will follow. Right now, I'm going into the woods on a pinabout. I don't know what that word is. Penobscot territory, where it's the original village. My uncle owns 40 acres, and I'm going to build a tiny house and live the rough life for a year. Well, listen to those words right there. You're going to live a rough life, then the universe is going to live a rough life. I'd say you don't need a rough life to expand and become something more. Change that word, but if you want to keep it, so be it. Okay. See, D, we were on the same thing. D says change the narratives that you say to yourself and others. Okay, it's called own Scott. Own Scott. Right. So my well, not tough a life that gives me deep teaching and strength and fortitude. I didn't have resilience. Okay, so change that word tough, because tough you don't have to live a tough life to give you resilience and fortitude and strength. Wisdom and understanding are part of who you are. You were born that way. Strength is part of who you are. You're born that way. Fortitude is part of who you are. You're born that way. And resilience, you always have resilience. So now you're going into the woods. You're building a tiny home so that you could live the resilient life. So you can live and allow your gifts of strength and wisdom and understanding to abound you, to surround you, to become you more and more, right? So I do have to go now. Is there that you want to say, Ray, before I go? My phone.
I was going through stuff randomly, and you know how spirit likes to talk to me in riddles. So I found a green crayon puzzle piece, just one single puzzle piece. And the first thing that pops into my mind, green, heart chakra, you know, the emerald aspects of our energy body. And then I find emerald lotus right underneath, and it says, "We trust in magic" on the back. What's the other thing I saw? And then I saw a business advertisement from a company that I support, a content creator, and it says it's divine jewelry crystals, but I see it and it says divine.
Yes.
And I call back my energy every morning when I wake up, and I also had taught my children. Well, my wife has green eyes, and our ring was green jade. See? So, Matt, I invite you into getting creative, getting curious about those experiences that you feel are very difficult. I'm not going to go into full detail at the request of Sandra here, but I'm going through a situation that's kind of similar to yours. I'm separated from one of my children right now while I'm out of state, and the goal is for both parents to be able to be accountable to find a way for us to either go back down to Florida or for him to come up to Georgia in the next couple of months. So not only are we setting the intention of how long we're going to be separated from each other, but we're setting a solid intention of what we're going to do to make that happen. And a buddy of mine who apparently is working for Marvel might be able to get me a job that I get paid daily. And another person that my mom knew at a chiropractor's office was going to possibly utilize my skill set as a consult in their office, because I'm out of state, so I can't technically practice massage unless if I go through and get the proper certifications. I didn't set any expectation of the how and the when, because the last 2 days, the only thing I've been focused on is my son that's been sick, because I had to go to the same hospital 2 times yesterday. I was actually hesitant to even come on today because a part of me didn't want to feel like I was going to energetically shift certain dynamics. But I also know, versus she just blocked me, I don't get to do that yet. There's certain energies that she's still going to be connected to you unless if you did cord cuttings and things, but that's going to be on another live that I will absolutely explain if need be. But I actually had somebody randomly block me on 2 platforms for no reason. Part of me wants to know the why, and the other part of me is being told that that person may come back, and if that person comes back, if I can hold space for whatever's going on with them with no judgment, which is very difficult for some of us to do. And also, if you naturally go towards a space of aggression, a lot of people, when they have been around certain emotions more than others from a young age, whether you had to live based on the concept of scarcity, the lack of security, that's how concepts of empaths were awakened. We had to survive. It's one of our natural gifts, but when we are in a space of hypervigilance and we're having to constantly wait for the other shoe to drop, it's one of those things that we naturally, our energies recognize the emotions that we've been around, for better or worse. So what I had to do, because I know that I grew up in a very aggressive environment, when I realized that I was having moments where I was losing my patience, losing my temper, and I don't beat my children. I just wanted to clarify this. But when I've had moments where I've had a reaction response to a bad behavior, yes, we learn to pick up the subtle cues. For me, I had to mask a lot of my emotions growing up. So I recognize other people's emotions, but me as a person individually, I don't know my emotions. I can express myself when it comes to my thoughts, but I can't express to you how I feel most days. They call that alexithymia from a diagnostic point of view. But the other day when I was talking with my therapist, he made me talk to an object that I was thankful and grateful for. Like I was talking to a person.
Right.
And it was very bizarre for me, but the part that's going to make you laugh is the thing that I picked was my dragon clay relief that I made in school. And I'm pretty sure I've seen that dragon several times throughout my life now, and I just started putting those pieces together like right before we started having the conversation today. So when you start to pay attention to things that you did as a child till now, a lot of stuff will start following together into a synchronicity. But it's showing you're learning, it's showing that you're evolving, it's showing that you're growing.
Right.
And you're not staying stagnant. So I invite you, set the intention that you will experience what you need to experience.
Right.
But what I had to do when I realized that I started feeling like I was becoming my parents, and then I started to get down on myself. I started calling myself names and saying I was a shit mom and all this other stuff. No, I'm not a shit mom. That's what everybody else wants to tell me. And anytime that you hear a critical voice, ask yourself this question. Is it your voice that you're hearing, or you're hearing somebody else?
Right. Or are you hearing what your egoic mind is telling you somebody else is telling you about you? So thank you very much for coming on. Thank you very much for waiting for me to finish reading.
I'm trying to be more mindful, even though Spirit like wants to poke and prod me to be like, go online, go online, go online. It's like, no, she's got to finish what she's doing.
And
I have a hard time with
I'm
it.
so glad. Me to shi na da ai chu shi na da ki po da ki na me shi na to shi she no to o ne o ta ki mo to shi na ta ya a ta to pa ne sha uta in ta ki gundo ko a to shi no to ku to ka chi sha so no to ku a ne o chi shi na da o sha na to ku maka me sha na yes no to a
And thank you for always sharing. I always love to share when I can, especially when it comes to our knowledge, especially when it's not even that we're learning, we're remembering. But the one last thing I wanted to say that I kind of got off track on is if words are spells, and when we speak things out loud and we watch how things tend to unfold, even if we don't unfold things to the way that we expect, the way that it shows up is divine timing.
Right.
And divine timing is always the right timing.
Right.
And the thing that I had to, and I hate this phrase, I usually will say release or let go, like that Elsa character. Is I surrendered into my anger and my rage, and I took myself through voluntary anger management. I found an amazing program. It was called Roots and Wings, and he explained concepts from synchronicity, but all of the notes that I have written down now, some of those are going to be pinnacle pieces and some of my art creations, as well as my oracle cards, because when he explained it from a spiritual and logical take point, I was able to understand. So when there's that moment where I feel like I'm about to lose it, I was trained that you're always supposed to face something right then and there. No, you have to take a moment for yourself to take a step back, or as I tell my children, pause for the cause. Because pausing for the cause is going to help you be creative and not reactive.
Okay.
I naturally react because of my family dynamic. And I'm choosing that is not serving me anymore, and it's not going to serve my children. And I still have moments where I slip up, don't get me wrong. We are human.
I'm good. My phone just gave me notification. It's about to die. I don't want it to die before I
Nope. Yeah.
But we do have to continue this conversation. Sources told me it's going to go to a different level, and definitely. Will you? I have a spot. Not into May. I believe it's June 30th. No, you know what? Can we do, will you be available later today so we can continue this? I want to make it a two-parter.
Yeah,
okay.
We could do that. Just let me know when it'd be a good time, and we'll line up the time frame.
Right. So because a source is telling me this is there's somebody that needs this information, and they're going to come back in for it. So can we do another one later on today? Maybe in a couple of hours? Okay, great. So thank you so much. I close this space 10845. I close it with unconditional love, wisdom, and understanding. I hold. I allow my energy to go out with wisdom and understanding, unconditional love, and divine health to go out, even with the love that it was given. I do not call it back. I have more energy that is overflowing and getting ready to be part of your creative world. You are creators standing on the leading edge of creation. Stand there and create. Use your spellings for your greatest good and your highest good and the highest good of those that are around you. Be wonderful creators. Ashish Yanoku Nafta. Thank you.